Hello and welcome to the 87th gathering of the Adventure Party on this, the 11th of February, 2018. I'm your party leader, Brad Ludwig. We ask that you peace tie your swords, holster your blasters, and be ready to be assimilated before you are gathered at the meeting table. This meeting of the Adventure Party is brought to you by our Patreon partners, Brian Jensen, Amy Cantwell, Amy Frost, Growly Bear, Jackie Hearn, and J.F. Dubois. And we'll tell you more a little later on how you too can become a partner with the Galactic Netcast Network. The second in command here is Glenn Bittner. He is a movie reviewer. He's got a YouTube show called the B-Movie Bunker, and he appears on many other podcasts as well, talking about movies. He is also the creator of an RPG called Mistrunner and is currently working on his prequel, Demon Eater, to his Mistrunner mythos. How are you, Glenn?
I am all right. Yeah, I'm all right.
A little bit of apathy today.
There's good and bad things going on, so.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Well, we wanted to talk a little bit about the news of Asmodee managing to purchase a couple more. I guess most notably, they picked up Mayfair Games.
What was left of Mayfair Games?
What's that?
Said what was left of Mayfair Games.
Yeah. And they also picked up Lookout Games as well.
Yes.
It looks like Settlers of Catan was really the biggest thing keeping Mayfair Games afloat, were I to hazard a guess.
Yeah.
And, putting all your eggs in one basket can only get you so far for so long. And they kind of threw in the towel and sold to Asmodee. We're going to talk a little bit about that news story and talk about some of the fears. And I think we've alluded to it in the past and talked a little bit about it before, but it's good and it's bad. And we wanted to kind of chit chat about that in this meeting. So as always, we're going to do a game review, which Glenn does every meeting of the Adventure Party. And we're going to, basically our gaming news is going to segue right into our topic. And that's what we're going to do this evening. So why don't you kick things off with your review of something by Plaid Hat?
Yes. Plaid Hat Games has brought us Stuffed Fables. This one's from created by Jerry Hawthorne. It's 2 to 4 players. It runs about 60 to 90 minutes and retails for $70. So this is what they call an adventure book game. So a new product line from Plaid Hat in which all the action takes place in a unique storybook. The book acts as a rules reference, story guide, and game board all in one. So Stuffed Fables, you take on the roles of brave stuffies, basically stuffed animals, that are seeking to save the child they love from a scheming evil mastermind known as the Lord of Nightmares. You make daring melee attacks, leap across conveyor belts, even steer racing wagons down a peril-filled hill. The game delivers a thrilling narrative driven by player choices, and you explore a world of wonder and danger, unlocking curious discoveries. So this one, first of all, you get a whole bunch of these cool minis with it. So you get actual minis for your little stuffed animals. You get minis for the minions, which are basically like these corrupted type toys that you have to fight in what is called the Fall, which is like the other world that you have to save the little girl from.
Yeah, and I'm going to interrupt for just a moment for our YouTube viewers. You can see, as of right now, I've got some of the action figures, derp, some of the miniatures shown here right now. We got the corrupted figures in the front row, and the oh god, they're beautiful.
They are.
I'm really excited. I'm gonna even jump in here and blow this up so that you can get a really good look at them. Okay, please continue.
So, how the game actually plays is you'll have, so you go in the storybook and you'll have, and as I said, on one page of the book is like an actual map. And the other page is like the stuff that's the little bit of adventure you have going on. There'll be little sections you will read. One person is the storyteller. They're gonna read which parts you're on, and then you have different encounters that you may have. You may be able to search for special, search for and get better equipment, like weapons and stuff like that, which could be like rubber bands, a meat mallet, stuff like that. So weapons that you can use to fight the minions of the fall. You may have to fight minions, as I said. There are other encounters you may have with what are called the Lost, which you'll have little cards be read to you, and you have to make a decision of what you want to do. Do you want to help this clown, carry this thing, not knowing what you're going to get? You run into some ripped up guys who, do you give them one of your buttons so that they can patch themselves up? So you have different things that happen based on what you do and how you interact with them. You get different reactions. Each turn, you're going to reach into a bag and you're going to pull out 5 dice. And they're going to be different colors. So you have white dice, which lets you basically take a chance to roll. You roll the die to add more stuffing to your stuffy. Your stuffing is basically your life. The more stuffing you have, the more beating you can take.
Sure.
Otherwise, you get the stuffing beat out of you. There are black dice, which are threats, and they go on a threat track, which may activate minions or other bad things that could happen to you, depending on what the current adventure that you're on is. There are blue dice, which are really undefined but can be used for defense. There's red dice, which are used for making melee attacks. There's green dice, which is used for range attacks, and yellow dice, which are used for searching. And then there's also purple dice, which can be wild. They can act as anything. You can roll any die you want or any combination of dice you want to move. You simply roll any dice, and then aside from blacks go on the threat track, and you roll them in however many spaces you get. You can move that many spaces. When you attack minions of minions of the fall, you're going to roll. So if you're doing melee attacks, be obviously next to them. You'll roll your red dice, or one or more red dice plus any purple dice you want to add. You might have modifiers because of your weapons that you're carrying, trying to knock them out. Most of the creatures you're going to fight, any minions, if you hit them, you kill them. They're one hit, they're gone. There are bosses which take more hits to kill. If there's enough threat, the minions may fight back. Sometimes they don't. But it's pretty cool. We played through the first 4 pages of the book, or 4 sections of the book. And I don't want to spoil anything by saying what you all do. But it wasn't all just go and fight some stuff. There were other things that we did as well. And a lot of it is balancing out what you want to do and what dice you're going to save. Because you can save 1 die, possibly. But it's also a balance, because the more dice you have out of the bag that are good dice, the more likely you are to pull black dice out, which are bad. Now, there's a lot more good dice than bad dice to begin with. There's only, in a 4-player game, you're only going to have 5 black dice in the bag, and you're going to have 5 each of the other colors. So there's a lot of other dice in there. But you never know. I mean, we had one guy who, on his turn, pulled out 5 dice, and 3 of them were black.
Ooh.
So it can definitely change things, and you can fail in aspects, which then determines what happens next. Like you can fail on like the main goal of this one particular adventure. You fail, well, you don't lose. You just have some other thing you have to go do. So it's like if you're trying to, I'm not going to say anything from the book, but it's like you have to go, stop this bicycle from leaving. And you might fail. And if you fail, well, okay, the bicycle left. So now you have to go do this other thing because you don't have the bicycle now. So it's pretty nifty in the way that it all works out. And everyone seems to really like it a lot. You can share dice. You can share stuffing. You can do what's called encourage. You basically spend any die you want, and you can give some of your stuffing to someone else. Because if anyone ever loses all their stuffing, they collapse. They're not out of the game, but they can't do any actions. However, on their turn, they still have to draw 5 dice, which means even if they're basically collapsed, you reach and you draw those 5 dice. If you pull out black, those go on the threat track. All these other good dice that you normally be able to use for stuff, you can't use them. You just waste them. Oof. Hopefully, then someone else will, on their turn, will say, "Hey, have some of my stuffing. Let's get you back in the fight." If all of the stuffies are ever collapsed at the same time, you lose. But it's pretty nifty because it's just like this ongoing story that you keep going through this storybook. And the storybook is huge.
Yeah, I was noticing in some of the pictures. Oh, here we go. Here's a good example of what that looks like. These look like they're, standard 28 millimeter.
Yep.
Yep. And because you play it on the book, essentially.
Yes.
You flip open a page. One side is your board. The other side is information that you need. And it's thick. I mean, it's 3/4 of the way up one of the miniatures, actually both of these miniatures. So there's a lot going on there. And the quality of these miniatures, holy crap.
They're really cool.
I want to paint these. They're absolutely gorgeous. And they literally do look like they're from a child's dream/nightmare. It's beautiful. And $70 for something with that potential of, well, one, number of games that you can play, because there's how many scenarios would you say that there are if you were to take a rough guess?
Oh boy, I don't know, 40, 50.
Yeah,
there's a lot. So,
and there has to be a great deal of replayability with a lot of the choices that you can make, just with the randomness of pulling out the dice and the dice rolls and everything else. There's got to be a lot of replayability, and $70 for a highly replayable game with beautiful miniatures. That's a steal.
Yeah, it is. Yep, we had a blast with it.
Yeah,
and it's hard to talk about because you don't want to spoil anything for someone who's going to play it, because they don't want to tell anything about the stories. So I mean, it's how it starts off is just simply that your girl, the whole thing starts with it's her first night in a big girl bed. So she is now no longer protected by the magic of the crib. So now it is your job as her stuffed animals to keep her safe at night. So yeah.
That is wonderful, and it seems very well thought out. There a lot seems to have gone into not only the design of the miniatures, but the crafting of the story and the setting itself.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely wonderful. And remind me again, what are some other things that Plaid Hat has done? Because we've talked about them before.
Oh, Plaid Hat, what have they done? Oh, they've done tons of stuff. They did Mice and Mystics was Plaid Hat.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Wait, yes. Yes, Mice and Mystics, Dead of Winter is Plaid Hat, Spectre Ops, Ashes. So yeah, they've done some pretty cool games. Summoner Wars. So yeah.
Holy crap! They even did a board game about the. I wouldn't say esoteric, but not a highly Rocket Jump. Did a YouTube group.
Yeah.
They did Video Game High School, and it was 3 seasons. And I think it was 3 or 4 seasons. They did a board game for that, which that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, they've done a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, just looking at their stable of games. They're all over the place. They're fantasy, they're God, yeah. That is beautiful. A thing of beauty.
Indeed.
All right. Again, that game review was Stuffed Fables by Plaid Hat, and it retails for approximately $70, and the game is about 60 to 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Glenn.
Yeah, we played about 2 hours today, and like I said, we got through the first 3 in 2 hours.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and that was also learning, so.
Sure. Yep. That is awesome. So, Die Hard Dice. I think you may have heard of them. We may have talked about them a few times. They keep coming out with new and interesting stuff. And I do want to talk about they did a set, and there was kind of an accident with how things turned out. So they have a run of their metal dice with enamel enamel color. Actually, here, instead of me fumbling through YouTubers, you'll be able to see this. So they put together a set of dice that actually, it's not this royal blue that you see here, but it's like a robin's egg blue, a light blue, with the enamel coloring around the numbers. So the numbers on the die are the metal. And they did 2 different versions, and they are allowing people to purchase and give their opinion as to which one they should keep. So this potential accident that they had could, you as a consumer could potentially guide their decision for this particular color of die with the enamel and what finish the metal should have. So check it out. They've got a lot of stuff. They don't have just metal dice, but they do have the polymer dice, and they have a wide variety of styles to choose from, and all of them are incredibly affordable, and the turnaround time for you to get the dice is very short. And they really have kind of a mom and pop operation for all intents and purposes. You get on your I guess on your shipping label, not shipping label. Oh, God, English is not my language today. On your receipt inside of your order, they either Todd or his wife will sign a little thank you on each of them by hand. So it's a very, very customer service oriented business, and they put out a lot of good stuff. And if you want to get in on that, if you do make a purchase, and it's free shipping to the US. Did I mention that?
Yeah, well, excellent.
If you want to get in on that and get a 10% discount, use the discount code Adventure Party, all one word, Adventure Party, and you can get 10% off your total order. So thanks to Todd and the folks at Die Hard Dice. All right, on to the main topic that we wanted to discuss, and we're going to start it off with the news. And here's the title from the story from Polygon.com. The company that helped lead a revolution in board games is shutting down.
Yep.
Yeah. After nearly 40 years in the tabletop industry, the longtime publisher of the popular Settlers of Catan franchise is closing its doors. Mayfair Games has sold its remaining games catalog to Asmodee North America, a massive games publisher and distributor, the company announced. As of today, the management team at Mayfair Games Incorporated announces we will wind down game publishing. After 36 years, this was not an easy decision or one we took lightly, but it was necessary. Once we had come to this conclusion, we knew we had to find a good home for our games, which is when we reached out to Asmodee. In 2015, Mayfair refreshed Settlers of Catan with a new 5th edition release, simply called Catan. The following year, it sold the North American license for the franchise to Asmodee North America. Today's announcement indicates that it will add the entire product line of Mayfair Games to Asmodee's growing portfolio. They also picked up Lookout Games, makers of the Uwe Rosenberg's classic Agricola, as well as his more recent title, Caverna. Yeah. So they now have Mayfair. They have Lookout. They've got Fantasy Flight, Days of Wonders, and F2Z Entertainment, which continue to publish under their own names. That makes the company the publisher of dozens of the most highly regarded franchises in the tabletop industry, including Seven Wonders, Dead of Winter, Dixit, Splendor, Star Wars, the X-Wing Miniatures game, Pandemic, and Ticket to Ride. Internationally, Asmodee distributes Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, and Yu-Gi-Oh! In some European countries. And the company has a successful digital imprint that focuses on bringing tabletop games to mobile devices and Steam. The juggernaut marches on.
Yes.
All right. We're going to talk about our thoughts on that purchase in just a moment. But if you enjoy Adventure Party and would like to do more than just subscribe, please consider becoming a partner with us. Go to gncasts.com/support and click on the Patreon link. We have different levels, all with rewards at $1, $3, and $5 a month. You can get your name mentioned at the beginning of our show, receive a bonus podcast, or even having a whole message read by one of us. Again, to become a partner with us, go to gncasts.com/support. The Kickstarter Spotlight. Last time, we talked about John Carter of Mars, which was successfully backed. They were looking for £20,000. They got up to £228,055 with 2,155 backers. That's a lot. And they pushed through a lot of their stretch goals.
Yeah.
New tile sets, new characters that you can play. Wow. Just so many things. Beautiful miniatures. All of those are beautifully sculpted miniatures. Mind-blowing the amount of detail that they always put into their games in regards to the miniatures. So there you have it. A successful launch of John Carter of Mars by Asmodee. You have a new spotlight for us.
I do, don't I?
And what would that be?
It is tabletop tokens. So it's premium plastic tokens for tabletop RPGs. So this one I saw. I'm always looking for cool things using the tabletop, and these are actually little plastic tokens. They're flat, but you use them on when you're using tabletop minis with role-playing games. So right now they have 3 different sets available. There's the camping set, so you get some trees, rocks, tents, bedrolls, some campfires. There's a castle siege set, which gets you some catapults and ballista and ladders and battering rams. And there's a castle furnishing set, which is like some beds and chests and stuff like that. So they are currently looking for $20,000. They're at $17,377 with 30 days to go. You can get in on this. I mean, you can do $5. Just say, hey, we want to help you out, and you get a sticker. But for $15, you can choose one of the 3 sets, either the camping set, the castle siege set, or the castle furniture set. And the plastic in these is really nice because they're kind of flexible, so they're not going to like break. They look like they're pretty durable and long lasting. Plus, you can store like a whole bunch of terrain, basically, in a folder.
Yeah.
For $30, you can get 2 different sets together. Or you can get a set with a t-shirt. $40, you can get all 3 sets. Or you can do 2 sets and a shirt. At $55, you can get all 3 sets and a shirt. At $100, you can get 2 of each set and a shirt, and that's their top one currently. So it just they look really cool. I mean, they're full color, so you don't have to, you don't have to color these in. They're not just black and white. They are, as he said, they're waterproof. So I mean, if you spill something on them, you're not going to damage them like you would if they were cardboard tokens. Because I have some cardboard stuff and they're fine, but the cardboard wears out fairly easily. And if anyone spills anything, well, great.
Yeah.
You just ruined the castle. Good job. But it's good because it's nice, affordable terrain, because not everyone can afford to, to get the big 3D terrain.
Or, shell out the money for the very high quality Dwarven Forge stuff, but it is the price tag that comes with it reflects the quality.
Yes. So, but yeah, I mean, it looks nifty. I think I'm going to try contacting you guys and see if they have plans for retailer stuff, because I could easily see these selling well in my store.
Yeah, for a person that, looking at the examples that they have here, a lot of folks either have a large pad of paper that they'll draw their map on, or they'll have a it's the wet erase, like the Chessex mat, the grid mat. Mm-hmm. And the amount of time that it takes for you to draw all the crap so that everybody knows where there's cover, where the objective is, or whatever, that takes time out of the game. And to have something that fits the genre that you're playing available, that's thin and easy to transport, and basically all you do is just rough out your area and then drop on these awesomely well done tiles, and you can have something put together in a very short amount of time. And they're full color. And like you said, if you get, and they have video and GIFs and stuff that you can check this out. Tabletop tokens by Geek Tank Games.
Mm-hmm.
Just check them out on Kickstarter. Geek Tank Games. The tabletop tokens, they have a video. They show you like somebody dumping water on one and just whoop, tipping it off to the side, and it all rolls off. No harm, no foul. Absolutely beautiful. Well worth the money too.
Yeah.
That is awesome, dude.
I thought so.
Yeah, 30 days to go. They're already well over three-quarters of the way there to reach their $20,000 goal. So this is most certainly a go. And with this being as successful as it is, that would be great to see them throw in different genres as well, having stuff for, say, sci-fi or I was really thinking about getting the camping set for the Wild West campaign that I'm doing. That would not be too bad to use. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for that. That is a boon and a time saver for many folks to have something like that. All right. We're going to talk about Asmodee's absorption of yet another company. To me, Mayfair Games was the first time Mayfair Games popped on my radar is the DC RPG that they put out back in the day. And then I realized that they did other things besides that. But Catan is it's like Monopoly or Clue or Life from like back in the 50s and 60s. I mean, a lot of households have Catan. It's huge. I remember reading a story about how some of the Green Bay Packers would play Catan. Just get together and play Catan, as you do. Very prevalent, and now they're in a situation where they had to sell it, and they gave it to a company which, to their credit, has a lot of different properties, and they seem to be doing a good job with them. But there's always that concern, you have one company that has all of these tremendous properties, and God forbid there's a financial downturn in the markets or whatever, and they're in trouble. And then how do you sell that off and guarantee that that's going to continue on? That's kind of a tough place to be. So I wanted to talk to you, especially because you sell games for a living.
Yes, I have.
As I did at one point in time. And how do you feel about that?
Well, there wasn't a lot left that Mayfair had that is at least for us is a viable game. There were, Agricola, Caverna, so most of it was the Lookout Studio stuff that we wanted now from Mayfair, seeing as Catan was already absorbed by or sold off to Asmodee. There are some other ones. I mean, it's nice to we occasionally sell some of the rail games, so it's good to be able to get those. And now having this all centralized again with Asmodee, I mean, hopefully with the bigger coming behind it, we won't have the shortages we've had. Although lately we have a shortage of Catan, so I do have some concerns that maybe Asmodee is getting to the point where they can't manage all their titles. So I'm a little concerned in that regards because we're sold out of like 3 of the Catan expansions and we can't get them in. They're just not available. So that's a huge seller for us. And to not have something that's a huge seller is a little bit annoying. But I mean, it's a mixed bag. So I'm not entirely sure how this is all going to play out, but it's some wait and see. And yeah. So fingers crossed that everything works out well. I mean, it's sad to see a pioneer in tabletop gaming go away. But at least it's not gone. It's not like it just folded and they're gone. And also thankfully it wasn't bought out by, like, say, a Mattel or a Hasbro, who would maybe publish Catan, like 1 or 2 games, and the rest would just languish in the hell that is Hasbro, where they will be like, well, it's not worth it for us to publish this, but we own it, so no one else can publish it either. Because there are a lot of titles that are owned by companies that are simply owned just so that no one else can put them out.
Yeah. That is... I'm going to equate it to something that comic nerds will definitely appreciate and understand. So DC, at one point in time, bought out Fawcett Comics, and Fawcett Comics had Captain Marvel and Mary Marvel and that whole, what was it, Captain Carrot and the Zoo Crew, this whole stable of characters. And they just sat on them. And then probably about 30 years, 20 or 30 years later, Marvel Comics said, hey, we're going to make a character called Captain Marvel. And they started to put out Captain Marvel comics. And DC said, whoa, 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 hang on. We have the original Captain Marvel. And it went to court, and court said, well, you didn't use it, so no, you didn't use it for 20 to 30 years. So there was no evidence that you were ever going to use that again. So the name it's absolutely free to use. And so DC to this day, when they put out their Captain Marvel movie, it will be called Shazam. I will guarantee you that. They can't use Captain Marvel on the cover of a comic book. They can't use Captain Marvel for a movie. That won't fly.
Yeah.
They have to use Shazam. Now, inside of the comic book, they can mention the name Captain Marvel because that's his actual character name. But on the cover, and that you can't do that. So, what does that mean for games? Well, there is a price for owning something and sitting on it. If you sit on it long enough and you don't see that there's a value to it, somebody else could, potentially take that name and reuse it. But I guess we'll see. And granted, yes, it's comic books versus games. Yeah, there's a difference there. I get that. But that said, it's still business. And seeing some of these, the thing about games is that somebody bought them at some point in time, so there's still love out there for them. Maybe it's not a huge following, maybe it's not a whole lot of love, but there's love for games. And to see a game that you love no longer like produced or innovated or anything, it's a little sad. So it's good to know that Asmodee is going to at least try and pay attention to all of these properties they have and continue to innovate and try to get them out there. But there is a limit. There's a limit to the amount of capital you have to print games with the hopes that they will be sold. You can't sit on a lot of stock for a long period of time. Nobody can. I mean, your store couldn't, and still be viable. So there has to be that tight purchase and sell level. to try to keep things flowing and moving, and try to keep your overhead down as much as possible. That goes for small businesses, game shops, but that also goes to game publishers and distributors. They got to keep it tight, got to keep it close. Because if you get caught with your pants down and you're sitting on a lot of stuff that's not moving, that's money that's tied up there.
Yep.
And you can't have that. So it's a double-edged sword. It's
Absolutely.
It's good to have a company that's active, viable, has a lot of properties that are still selling very well. I know Dead of Winter has, I know of at least one expansion. Is there more than one?
For which Dead of Winter?
Dead of Winter.
There's the main one. So there's Long Night. There is Warring Colonies, and then there is a standalone game, Raxon, that has some playable stuff for it as well.
Okay, yeah, here we go. So, yeah, innovation. I think about, and this happened just this past year when Widow's Walk was made as an expansion for Betrayal at House on the Hill, which had been out for decades.
Yeah,
and
a while.
And they, got most of the original team back together and created some solid content. A great expansion to that game, which, while it has a great deal of replayability, to see them tack on, oh God, I want to say 20 plus scenarios to that.
Yep.
That was, I couldn't tell you how quick, as soon as I saw that announcement, I'm like, take my money. Because I love that game. And it's great to, like anything else, when you see somebody taking the time, the care to add to, innovate, and do a good job at it, there's that excitement builds, and I'm willing to guarantee that they sold some core copies of House Betrayal, as well as the expansion.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's in their best interest to juggle those balls being their properties, and keeping them moving. I said balls. And, taking good care of each and every one of them, and making sure that you've got teams of people trying to find new ways to make those games exciting, and to keep people buying them and keeping them top of mind, so there's interest in them. It's what keeps that particular business viable. How many more game companies do you think they could potentially swallow up before things would get really weird? I mean, you've already mentioned, you running into the, not having having to wait a while to get copies of games in already that they have, because you're just waiting for them to go to print again. Where do you feel that limit might be?
I don't really know. And there's always talk going around and rumors, because people are always talking about how Wizards of the Coast is going to sell off Magic and they're sell off D&D, and is Asmodee going to buy one of them or both of them? And I'm like, I don't know about that. And I think there's some companies that just won't. I don't think they're worth it for Asmodee to buy them for one or two titles. I think some companies are happy doing what they do, but I also, a year or two ago, I wouldn't have thought they would have bought Mayfair, or that Mayfair would have sold off Catan, or also that some of the companies that have been swallowed up by Asmodee, I didn't think they would. I mean, when they took Fantasy Flight was pretty big. I mean, not like Hasbro big, but big. So it's hard to say. I mean, they got Z-Man, they got Days of Wonder, they got Fantasy Flight, they got Queen Games. Now they have Mayfair. They've got a lot of people that they've got now. So I don't know. It's anything you say is speculation.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
It's hard to say. I mean, technically they could afford to buy almost anyone if they wanted to. If those companies were willing to sell, that is.
Yeah.
The hardest one's probably being, obviously, I don't think they could buy Wizards of the Coast outright. That'd be pretty expensive.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. No, they would have to leverage way too much debt to make that happen.
Yeah.
Because they're an absolute juggernaut. And I think the overall business structure does not mesh with what they're currently doing. So that would be such a jarring change for how. Do you know what I'm saying? There's certain expectations, the board game market, once you start moving into different markets, unless you have, if you're to move into like role-playing games, that's an entirely different mindset, an entirely different way to do your business. They would have to make sure that they hired, the best people. I hate saying that phrase now. You have to make sure that you've got the right people that understand that business, like a James Lauder or, somebody of that caliber who can walk in there and go, okay, let's lay out how this needs to work so you understand how this works, so that we've got managed expectations and we can all, work together and be on the same page.
I mean, I know there's people who aren't in the industry, and even some that are, that I'm finding that there are a lot of, and I'm by no means an expert. I want to put that out there first, but I'm finding that there's a lot of people who are quote unquote in the industry who really are very clueless about how the industry works and how business in general works.
Yeah.
So there are people like, oh, Asmodee has a monopoly. I'm like, they do not have a monopoly. Oh, Asmodee is the biggest game company out there. No, it's not even close to what Hasbro is. When people look at this stuff, I'm like, no, it's is Asmodee big? Yeah, it's big. Do they own a lot of titles? Heck yeah, they do. But I mean, they'd be a division of Hasbro if so.
Yeah,
they're not, and it's not like, I don't know. They seem to think like, Asmodee is going to get this monopoly, and they're going to just suddenly. They're not going to own every game, and they're not going to say, "Oh, we own all the games, so now we're going to charge $1,000 for a board game." That's not going to happen.
No, that will never happen. That's ridiculous.
But there are some things in that, like they have an exclusive deal with Alliance for distribution, which means that if you don't care for Alliance distribution, it doesn't matter. If you want to carry anything Asmodee sells, you have to buy through Alliance.
Yeah.
So if you want Dead of Winter, if you want Seven Wonders, if you want X-Wing, if you want Ticket to Ride, if you want Catan, you have to deal with this distributor. So, and there's pros and cons to these exclusive rights as well, is that what they're supposed to accomplish is that, by having it all in one distributor, you cut down on shortages, because now it's not, well, I normally buy from ACD and GTS distribution, but they're out of what I want. Oh, but if I got from Peach State or from Southern Hobby or from Alliance, well, they have some of these games that I want that my normal ones don't have. So now I have to have accounts with 4, 5, 6 different distributors.
Yeah. And
which you still have to do a lot of times anyways, because different distributors have different. So, I mean, the biggest exclusivity is Asmodee with Alliance, but Passport Games is only through GTS. So if you want to sell Tokaido, well, you have to get an account with GTS. I believe ACD has some exclusives as well. So different companies have different exclusives that if you want to carry specific games, you have to do with that distributor. And it's supposed to cut down on things like shortages and stuff like that, because if one distributor controls all the stock, then you don't have to worry about, well, where else is there? If Alliance has no Ticket to Ride, there's no Ticket to Ride to be had.
Yeah.
So you don't have to sit there and rack your brain. Oh, well, let me call around to these other distributors to see if anyone else has some. No, Alliance is the only seller. So, nope. But then it's the same thing, is that you have sometimes where you have games where it's like, I can't get this game that I want from distributor A, distributor B have it. Hey, they do. Great, I can get it. And sometimes it's just some companies don't push things some as hard as some games as hard, and they might have some copies kind of hidden down the road. Or you get things like product can be allocated. Stuff that's super popular and they don't have enough to meet all the demand. They say, all right, you can get 6 copies of this game. And there are some games that are like that, but if you've ordered from multiple distributors, there are people who will get 6 from one, 6 from another, 6 from another, 6 from another, and they'll get from different accounts, because the accounts, distributors can only sell 6 copies to this account. But it doesn't mean you as a store can only buy 6 copies. It means you only buy 6 from that one distributor. So there's that thing too, is that some things where there's shortages, you can get your hands on more stuff. Or even just when you have initial allotments, it's like not really a shortage, but they're giving it out in smaller chunks. This happens like with Magic for pre-releases. You can get so much stuff, and for the launch, you get so much stuff. So we'll order some stuff from ACD, and we get some stuff direct from Wizards of the Coast. That's, you spread these orders out so that you can get more product in right away. And with an exclusive deal, you can't get that. It's whatever they have is what you can get.
Yeah.
But also, by having such a big company now with all these other companies under them, is they can put a little more pressure on the market. Which, like, now they have the Asmodee has, and at times whether house run they force it, it's debatable at times, but they have their MAP program. MAP being a minimum advertised price, which is to help. One, it helps out the local stores. Your local brick and mortar stores. It cuts back on the super deep discounters online, but it also protects the value of their products. Because if they say Ticket to Ride is a $50 game, and some basement dealer who just runs a quote unquote store out of his rec room, and he gets these copies of the game and he sells them for $30, he's making like $4 a copy. Which for something he's doing in his spare time out of his basement, he doesn't care. He's going to order in 100 copies. He's going to sell all of them. And he's going to make $400. Whereas, a regular store wants to sell it for $50 because that's what it's worth. But now people are thinking, well, the game's only worth $30. That's what this one guy on Amazon selling them for. So now you've devalued your product. So now people don't want to pay $50 for it. So if this guy goes away, or when he runs out, then they're going to look at stores and be like, oh, why are you charging more than this guy did? Or you'll have the people who will be like, it runs out, and then that guy who has the 100 copies, he was selling for $30 a piece. Oh, I have the only 10 left? Yeah, now they're 150.
Yeah, but it's always been that way, though.
It is, but by having this MAP program, it cuts back on some of that stuff. Because you have a minimum advertised price, meaning that, for example, I believe I forget what Asmodee is, but a lot of them will be like 10 or 20% off. You can sell it for less than that. I can get a Ticket to Ride, and if I wanted to in my store, I could sell you a Ticket to Ride for $1. However, I cannot advertise that in any way. I can't have a sign up saying Ticket to Ride $1. I can't put it on the website and sell it for that. I have to, if I have like online, I have to have it within a certain price range. If it's in my store, I can have it on the shelf and sell it whatever I want, but I can't have a sign saying Ticket to Ride $1 or Ticket to Ride $28. I have to meet their minimum prices on any advertising. So that way, yeah.
How do they enforce that though? I mean, granted, when you get caught, you're done.
Yeah. So if you're a business that gets caught, they can cut you off.
Yeah.
And this is the thing where now with Asmodee they have an exclusive deal, they only have to tell Alliance. They have to say, Bob's Super Duper Game Mart can't buy our product, and they have to tell Alliance, and that's the only person they have to tell. Sure. Now, policing is where the hard thing is because one is the internet's huge.
Yeah.
And Amazon's going to do what Amazon is going to do because as big as Asmodee is, they're not Amazon.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's like no one who's Amazon for the most part. So, but they will cut back on who is an authorized seller of their product. And that's the thing is that if you want to sell their product, you have to get it from somewhere. And Alliance, at least for the most part, won't just sell to just anyone. Some distributors don't care. If you want to say, oh, I have a store, where is it? It's out of my trunk. They're like, okay. And some distributors are like, no, you have to have a physical, you have to have a store or be an authorized seller online. But it is hard to police. And then at times you have companies that break the rules, and you will see how hard do they come down when someone like, say, Target breaks the rules. How hard do they come down on Target? Because Targets and Walmarts of the world will routinely break street dates. Because you'll say that this game is released on March 6th. You can't sell it before March 6th. But these stores will get, tons of it. And the average person working at Target or Walmart, and this is not saying they're idiots, but the average person there doesn't know a magic card from an X-Wing ship, from a Catan. These are just things that go on the floor. So they're in the back room. It's like, oh, this isn't on the floor. I should be a good worker and put it out on the floor. Boom, it's out there. There are people in retail industry who think like this is some grand conspiracy of Target to, make all this extra money. I don't think Target's put that much thought behind this. They're like, oh yes, we will sell X-Wing ships 2 days early and clean up. It's not. I don't think that's the grand thing. They do it a lot, but I think it's just because they have so much product, they don't pay attention to street dates on stuff, especially to a company like that. Now,
oh yeah,
they have gotten smacked once or twice before. There was on Force Friday, which is in like the fall. They usually have some special deals, and there were some Targets that broke the X-Wing street date once, and they sold it like a day early. They got smacked, not because at that point I think it was Fantasy Flight. I don't know if it was Asmodee owned them yet, but it might have been. But it wasn't because of Asmodee or Fantasy Flight. It's because who owns Star Wars? Lucasfilm, who's like, hey, or actually it was Disney. Disney's like, hey, no, we're Disney. I don't care if you're Target. And there were some Targets that actually got in trouble for breaking the street date. Sure. But it's not always going to happen. And yeah, it's the hard thing is that I have to in my line of work as a specialty, I'm a specialty retailer. That's what I am. I can't view Amazon and Target and Walmart as I can't compete with them on price. I cannot. It's an impossibility. Yeah. If you want to have a store, a physical store, you cannot price match Amazon and you cannot price match Walmart and Target. You can't. Yeah. One, you can't buy in the bulk they do, and two, you're not going to sell the volume they do. I'm not going to sell Amazon's volume. That's not a possibility. So I need to do other things to get people to want to shop at my store. And that's offering play space. That's also offering my knowledge. A lot of the games we sell, not everything I sell goes to hardcore gamers. The majority of my customers, they don't know what Board Game Geek is.
Yeah.
They don't know that they can go on YouTube and watch review videos and playthrough videos. They don't know these things. And some of them that even if you tell them, they would much rather come in and have me tell them about what games there are and show off demos. I have open copy. You can pick up and feel. It's like, great. You can look at a picture of Stuffed Fables on the web, on the internet, on some, idiot's podcast. You go, oh, those minis look neat. But you come into my store, you can open the box and you can see how those minis actually look. See what they're made out of. See what the book looks like. See what the cards are made of. See how sturdy stuff is. How does the artwork actually look up close? You can see all that in my store. You can't see that online or even at a Walmart. You're not going to be able to open a game at Walmart and look at the stuff inside. They'll be like, what are you doing? Stop it. So it's, I think the retailers that are more successful are the ones I don't try to compete with them.
No.
So it's like, we sell Monopoly and Sorry, and we sell it for more than Target does.
Yeah.
That's a fact. If your only interest is price shopping, then yeah, you're not going to be our customer.
Yep.
We're not going to be able to compete that way. But we still sell tons of Monopoly. One, because sometimes it's just the convenience factor. I'm here at this store right now. I want Monopoly. Yeah, I could look up online. Okay, so maybe on Amazon I can get this $6 cheaper, $8 cheaper. And some things like some of the D&D books, there's a lot cheaper because Wizards doesn't value their product as much as I think they should. Because you can get a player's handbook, for like 40% off.
Yeah.
But I still sell tons of players' handbooks. And there are other store owners out there who complain. It's like, well, if they would just, I'm not going to carry their product because it's so. I'm like, I carry it. And I sell tons of it at full MSRP.
Yeah. I'll never forget the time that somebody came in to the store that I was working at and said, well, so and so, Walmart's got it for this. I'm like, then you need to go to Walmart. But good luck finding somebody who can tell you about that game. Unless you've got somebody who is working in that department, who is a fan of games, who has actually played it, good luck getting service. And specialty stores like yours will never beat a big box store on price. You get them with having a play space, with having knowledgeable staff that can answer questions about the games. You beat them on service and support.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down.
Yes.
And I can tell you a lot of people appreciate that. They appreciate being able to walk into a store and talk to a knowledgeable individual. But yeah, if you're looking for price shopping, this is back in the 90s when I was doing it, which, Amazon didn't really exist. So, you went to Walmart, you went to Target. Now it's even worse because you can get it on Amazon. And if you've got Prime, you can get it in 2 days. Shipped to your house. You will never beat anybody on price. And anybody, you just can't. And the discounts depending on the amount of product that you purchase, you get a certain discount on it so that you actually make money. A big box store gets a higher percentage discount, which means that they can sell it for less. Whereas you, who may pick up, maybe 10 copies of something, whereas Walmart will pick up 10,000, there's no comparison. It will always be service and knowledge that you will beat a place with. So yeah.
And and the other thing is that there are some people, and again, these are people who are not my customer, who they see a discounted price online.
Yep.
And then they come into a store and they're like, well, you're gouging me. I'm like, I'm not gouging you. I'm charging the MSRP, which is the manufacturer's suggested retail price. This is what the company who makes the game says the game is worth.
Yep.
Now, if you come in my store and I'm charging you $100 for the $50 game, and it's not, and there's no logical reason for it, that's gouging. Gouging is when, oh, hurricane knocked out all the clean water. I've got bottles of water. They're $8 a piece. That's gouging.
Yeah. There is capitalism, supply and demand. I get that, but being an asshole,
yeah,
that's gouging.
Yes.
That is not serving any other purpose except, in the case of life-giving water, that could get you a bullet between the eyes. Not the same as a game. That's not life or death. But Um, I had a great conversation with somebody. I actually, this is, again, the 90s. I wrote somebody an actual letter who had written an article about pricing comic books. And, I laid out a scenario and I said, what are your thoughts? And I have the letter somewhere. I need to dig it up again. But it was a great, you paid this. If you get, X amount more, but not be a dick about it, you're still making money. So, yeah, there's no need for gouging. That's just asinine.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Asmodee. So there are, yeah, that's what we're, might as well, I think that's something important that people who go to game stores may not know the business end of it and wonder why things happen a certain way. And it all boils down to Walmart, Target have more buying power. They have more stores, so they have more ability to get a deeper discount per unit and be able to sell it for less than a specialty store ever will. So don't be that guy or gal that walks into a store and goes, well, Walmart gets it for, fuck Walmart. Walmart does what Walmart does, and they have the clout to get specialized prices. This is what I get it for. A certain percentage marked up above, what I get it for, so I can cover my costs for shipping and keeping the lights on. That's the deal. And, the more people understand that that's how it works, the better. And then you get fewer people coming into your store giving you attitude like that. That's ridiculous. There's no need for it. Yeah, so I guess in the short term, we can definitely say Asmodee picking up this, this latest acquisition and the entire line of Mayfair Games stuff is good. It will breathe life into it. It will keep it available to the market for the people that do enjoy the game or are interested in getting the game. But time will tell if they can scale up operations and keep those juggled balls in the air and keep things rolling along. Because at the end of the day, that's, getting that product to the people that want it is the name of the game. And continuing to do so is definitely a good thing. Is there anything that we haven't covered, do you feel, on this?
I don't know. I've rambled so much on so many things. So.
Well, but I mean, it's related. It's absolutely related. Once you get to the Asmodee concept of the minimum retail price,
yeah,
then you're into pricing, and making sure that people understand pricing. So I don't think we've wandered that far afield,
I suppose.
Yeah, I think we pretty much. I don't think there's anything else to say about it, really.
I'm sure there probably is, and I'm forgetting things. And the thing is that there's so many different variables that a lot of people don't even know, and there's variables I don't even know that I'm still learning as I do this. I mean, my boss has a pretty good head on his shoulders, and I still learn things from him, and he still learns new things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in a couple of retailer forums, and I learn things. As much as I complain about some of those retailer forums I'm in, I still learn things in them because there's a lot of people who are doing the same job who have different experiences and find things that work and work well. And it's just, I have to do the best job I can do with what I have and what I'm able to provide. I know when some people complain, like, because Target sells X-Wing ships or Target sells Magic cards or Pokemon cards, it's like, yes, and yes, people can play X-Wing at home or they can play Magic at home, but they can't play it at Target. You're not going to play D&D at Target. You can't play D&D at Amazon.
No.
So, and yes, you can play it at home, but if you've never played before either, just buying Magic and just playing it, yes, you can do that. I mean, that is kind of how I learned how to play Magic. But there's a lot of games that I learned to play playing them at a board game at a game store.
Yep.
My first introduction to miniature wargaming was at Napoleon's in Milwaukee. That was my first introduction to it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And not everyone can go to a Gen Con or a game convention, so you've got your local stores that do that. So even though these other big stores sell this stuff, I run the events that people can. It's like, hey, come on in. You want to try D&D? You never played it? Come on in. I'm running some intro sessions. I mean, with Adventures League, a well-run store who runs Adventures League, which is quite a few. A brand new player can walk into any time they're running Adventures League, make a character, and play that night. It's not like they say, oh, you have to come back on intro day. If it's Adventures League, you're in. My store, I don't run any Adventures Leagues at my store for the most part. They're more casual play, but my DMs, if a brand new player shows up, boom, we'll make a character, we'll get you in the game.
Yep.
So, and you don't get that outside of a store. So it's the advantage we have. And at least to a part of their credit, Asmodee appreciates that. They know, yes, they sell a ton of stuff through large scale distribution through like a Target and stuff like that. They're going to sell a lot of stuff. They sell a lot of stuff through Amazon and whatnot. But they also realize that the local game store is a huge part of their business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing is there are people who talk about, well, how important is the local game store? It's like, I think it's vastly important because the market for games is becoming more and more saturated. It really, really is. And the thing is that in some ways, some game stores, we are tastemakers. When we can take a game that might have it, you might do a Kickstarter and have a great Kickstarter, but then a lot of those games are never seen again. Because a lot of these games will never be sold in a Target or a Walmart. We've had Keith Mateka on, who did Role Player. I don't think you're going to see Walmart carrying Role Player, and if they do, it's just going to be on a shelf with no one really going to talk about it.
Yeah.
But you can walk into my store or go to I'm Bored in Madison, where Keith has played and run his game, and we'll be able to tell you about it. And games like that survive, I think, in a lot of ways because of the local game store.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's these stores that will pick them up and bring them in, and we'll talk about them. And otherwise, a lot of games would get lost. They would have a Kickstarter, and if they succeed, great. I sold my game. Why is no one buying it anymore? Because they're on the next thing already. And if you're not selling it, if you're just selling it on your website or just on Amazon, great. I just search board games on Amazon. How many hits am I going to get? So, I don't know. I think for the most part, Asmodee is moving in the right direction. I think overall what they're doing is, for the most part, is good for the industry.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there might be some other game makers, some other game companies who might feel different, but some of the smaller ones like Renegade, I still sell a ton of Renegade games. Rather Dashing, they don't have a very big library, but we still sell a fair amount of Rather Dashing games. North Star, who, they make Wits and Wagers and Evolution and some others. That's not all they do, but we sell a ton of Wits and Wagers and Evolution. And even some of those you will find in mass market. But again, no one at mass market can tell you about them. Unless you just happen to get lucky where you have that one Target employee who plays Evolution, who just also happens to be in that department at the time. So I don't know. I'm not worried. I think for the most part it's a good thing. And again, I mean, when some of these companies are struggling, when someone else can come in and say, "Hey, we like these games, we will pick these up and we will publish them," I think it's a good thing, rather than just Mayfair just being gone and Lookout Games just being gone. Now it's like, well, you like Caverna? Great, get one on eBay because it's gone. They're never making it again. Oh, yep. you like Iron Dragon? Great, it's gone forever. Find one, for 3-4 times regular retail price on eBay because as soon as you get without a print, oh boy, does the price jack up. Even if it's just the Betrayal at Helston Hill is sold out. We'll have more in March. Oh, but it's December. I want it for Christmas. I'll pay $160 for that because apparently I don't care about money.
Fair enough.
So, it is what it is.
It is.
I mean, what I do isn't going to change Asmodee's mind.
No.
So, and when it comes down to it, it's what does Asmodee want to do? I mean, they want to make money. That's what a company does. What do I want to do? I also want to make money. I mean, I do this because I enjoy it, and my impression from the guys I know from Asmodee and I've met from Asmodee, including one of my former employees, is they like games too. So it's this isn't, they just said, oh, you know how we can get rich? Selling board games.
Nobody says that ever.
So I mean, there are guys out there who have made tons of board games. You won't see them on any richest men in America list. I mean, Uwe Rosenberg, who's made games, or Reiner Knizia, who's made 68,000 games, or James Ernest, who's published how many games. He's not a billionaire. I mean, I'm sure he's doing fine for himself. A lot of guys are doing fine. They're making a living, but they're not like, mega rich people. So when it comes down to it, they're a company. A company exists to make money. If they don't make money, they don't stay in business, and then everyone who works there doesn't have a job. So I don't think they like some people think, I don't think they're purposely trying to do things to hurt the market or hurt themselves or hurt local stores. But you also take into account that when people see things like, oh, well, this one company is doing this thing where I have to buy 20 games to get a free demo, but I'm not going to sell 20 games. So why can't I get a free demo if I buy 5 games? It's like, so do you reward your worst customers at your store? I mean, if I'm going to give out discounts, special discounts, or special prizes to customers, do I do it to the guy who spends $100 a week, or do I do it to the guy who spends $10 a year?
Yeah,
you reward your best customers, and if you're not that best customer, well, do something to make yourself a better customer. You can't sell 20 copies of a game, then why do they care about you? I mean, if you're going to sell 2 copies, do you think a company, I mean, even a smaller company is going to be like, great, you sold 2 copies of our game. That's us $6. They're not going to, be like, here, have a free copy that costs us $8 to make. So you could sell a 3rd copy, and then, then we're $1 ahead. As opposed to the company, as an example, like with us, where, 1 year, Mysterium, we sell like 100+ copies of it. And that's one game out of a line of games. So work with these companies, and if you do things well, they like you, and you get rewards for doing that. Just like if you run a successful game store, you do reward your better customers. Oh, there's a limited edition print of this Magic set coming out. We're only going to get 10 copies. Well, guess what? Who gets first dibs on them? My best customers. not some random schmo off the street.
Yep.
I mean, Gloomhaven, when we got our limited supply the first time, we were charging what the market value was, which was $300. Oh, you're an MVP member? Great. Spend lots of points, and you can drive that price way down. You spent money here? Great. We'll reward that. The money you spent? Great. We'll take, we'll knock that down to, In some cases, we'll take $150, $200 items or boxes of Modern Masters, which are like $240 to $300. You got the points. You have enough points, you can get that box for free. So that's when we reward. I'm not going to reward a free box to the guy who bought one booster pack, but I'll reward the guy who's bought several booster boxes. Sure. You know, and in a way that's allows Asmodee to do more stuff like that as well, because again, bigger companies can do cooler things. They can take a chance. I mean, you know, a smaller company, you know, if you're a company that makes 4 games, and all right, let's make game number 5. Game number 5 tanks. Well, shit. Now we have no money to print the 4 games that we do sell because we spent it all making game number 5. Where Asmodee, one game is not going to sink them.
Yep.
One bad decision won't be like, well, we're done. I mean, unless the bad decision is, you know, we're going to sell everything at 3 times its normal price. Then, yeah, you're probably done. But so I call it a win. At least right now I'm calling it that.
There's no shame in that. All right. I think we're going to wrap things up. I would like to mention that you can chat with the hosts or other listeners of this Galactic Network podcast 24 hours a day. You can go to gncasts.com/signup. We'll add you to our Slack team, so you'll have the ability to interact with us in real time. Again, go to gncasts.com/signup. If anything we said, I'm going to just throw this in here, was complete and utter crap to your ears, you can always email us at adventure@gncasts.com. Again, adventure@gncasts.com. Tell us we're full of crap, whatever. We'd love to hear from you. For more on this podcast, including show notes, contact info, and more, you can go to gncasts.com/adventure. Let's see. Oh, hey, we've got a phone number that you can either call or text. That is 805-328-3966. Again, 805-328-3966. Or you can go to gncasts.com/contact and get a hold of us there. We do read, listen to, and appreciate all of your feedback. You can subscribe to this Galactic Network podcast by going to gncasts.com/subscribe. You can also find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, or anywhere else podcasts are offered. And last but not least, a hearty thank you to Mark Wooldridge of Central Battery Music Works, who composed our theme music. So, Glenn, thank you very much for your insights on Asmodee and game shop sales and management in general. I think we covered quite a bit on that today. Where can people find out more about you and Mistrunner?
You can find out more about me on Facebook with Mistrunner the RPG, Demon Eater the RPG, Apocalypse How. Find my movie reviews on YouTube with the Bewee Bunker, which has been in kind of a hiatus for the last 3 months or so, since October for the most part. I'm hoping to bring it back sometime in March, I hope, but I'm just like super busy with lots of stuff, like possibly moving my store, and we're opening a gaming pub. So, hey, lots of things keep me busy. You can find me at the Board Game Barrister in Milwaukee if you're ever in the area, and eventually the Oak and Shield Gaming Pub on Milwaukee's fashionable east side, or just follow me on Twitter at Guy in a Bunker.
Nice. Well, that wraps it all up. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for this edition of the Adventure Party. May your characters never die and your adventures always be epic. Thank you and good night.